Today on the Daniel Baldwin Show, viewer mail and a few things on No Keys. Coming at you right now. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Daniel Baldwin Show. Let's get right to it with viewer mail. Jeff Cashman of Bismarck, North Dakota says, "Hello Daniel, a lot of people around here appreciate you telling the truth." Thanks Jeff, I really appreciate it being phrased that way. "I heard what you said about Epstein's Island not being the only one. Can you elaborate?" Ooh. Yes, I can, Jeff. So first of all, where the infamous Epstein Island is, there are two other islands that Epstein owned. We haven't heard really anything about those islands, but I guarantee you it's not Long Island. It's not one of the Hawaiian Islands. It's another of Epstein's islands. And amongst some of the people that I know who have shared with me, as I'm talking, I'm going ahead and flip the glass. I love this thing. I haven't been doing it all the time. So anyway, the rumor is, Jeff, that there is activity that took place on sister islands. It wasn't limited to the one island that's being commonly quoted and discussed, referred to as Epstein Island. There were multiple Epstein Islands. And for that matter, let me share this with you. If you think that Epstein, who I believe was working for intelligence agencies, he was filming high-level business people, politicians, monarchy, celebrities, movie stars, singers, whatever it may be, in order to blackmail them and have a hold on them and their influence and their decision-making power, their vote, so on and so forth. As you can imagine, having videotape of these people in a precarious position with a minor, either male or female, would end their career, destroy their legacy, and be a great way to prod someone to vote or do your liking. So that's what I believe it was about. That's who I believe Epstein was. I don't believe Epstein is dead. I said that from the very beginning. He was on Rikers Island and he hung himself. But the video monitoring system, it shuts off for an hour every night. Did you know that? Yes. Whatever happens in that hour, no one ever thought to have a backup, or it just conveniently, it shuts off every hour. And during that hour, Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. Oh my God. Can you imagine? So that's complete. I told you that was complete when it happened. He's, in Israel or, in Lebanon, in some place where they can keep him safe. Ironically, I think just 2 days before his suicide, Epstein's bank accounts, $550 or more million were transferred to some anonymous account. So can you imagine that? What a coincidence. Right before he just killed himself, he must have sent it to one of his lovers or one of his friends, knowing he was going to do so. I mean, that's what he probably did. I mean, what's confusing to me is the amount of stuff they can put out there, even when there's video evidence, even when you watch the little micro explosions as the towers are dropping during 9/11. And, there's a lot of conspiracy theory about it, but pretty much most people bought it, and certainly the people that did it got away with it. So here we go. There are many Epstein Islands out there. It's not just limited to the islands that are labeled Epstein's Islands. There is a huge thirst for this child pornography, for this sexual slavery, all of it. The trafficking business is way bigger than the drug business. Because remember, when you buy a bag of heroin and you ingest it, the heroin's gone and you can't use it again. But when you are dealing with a child that's being raped, that child can be raped 5, 6, 7, 8 times a day for years. So, and there's a market for it, sadly. So, we're never going to get away with what it would really take to shut it down. Kind of like what's going on with the boats coming out of South America and Central America, where you get on that boat now with this current administration and you really understand. You're not talking about getting caught by naval intelligence or any of our border patrols or, Coast Guard, drug enforcement agencies. They're just going to blow the boat up. Satellite's going to watch you. They're going to get an ID on you, and they're going to nuke your boat out of the ocean, and you'll all be dead. I think they should do the same thing in some ways when there's no doubt you're involved in it. When you're in bed or you're in a house that partakes in child slavery, sexual slavery like that, just shoot everybody in the house. Kill everybody in the house. Think about it. If they thought you were coming and and what you were doing was going to cause your death, it would outweigh in a lot of people's minds the amount of money that they can make doing it. For the people the sexual predators that kidnap these children, when they get them, lock them up for good. That's it. Give them the death sentence, actually. Start giving them the fear and the life that they gave the child that they kidnapped, that they persecuted for all these years. No mercy. No mercy. That will change it. That will change it. It will never happen. There are religious ramifications. Even as I say it, I feel torn thinking about my personal relationship with God and in the Ten Commandments that say, thou shalt not kill. And then wars rage and, police officers and law enforcement have to kill people from time to time, or they kill the good guys. But man, it disgusts me, Let's throw a bunch of money at that instead of throwing it at USAID programs that are rimming the pockets of those who fraudulate them and steal the money. And let's throw the money at something that we can make a difference. Let's do that. Yeah, there are a lot of Epstein's Islands out there. They're all over the world. There's Epstein buildings, Epstein townships, Epstein camps in the wilderness that people come up to, and there it is. There's Shangri-La for them, with their sexual predators all getting together and paying, a large fee in order to participate with the ongoings on the island. So yeah, it wasn't just this one, and there's still many out there right now that participate in this kind of activity. But I think like those boats, do a raid, get all the kids out of there, and then destroy everything. Burn it to the ground. Waco, Texas. Burn it down. Burn it so that no one could ever use it again. It won't prevent the activity from going on in other places, but it'll prevent the activity from ever going on there again. And that's good enough for me. We'll burn them down one at a time. One at a time. Let's take a look at what I said the show was going to be about at the introduction when I said viewer mail and a few things about no kings. So I decided to do the show on the no kings thing because it's blown up this weekend again. I was kind of hoping to catch some basketball, but I didn't. I had to work. It's early in the morning and I need some fluids. 5 takeaways from the No Kings rallies as the midterms heat up. The war in Iran was a galvanizing force, but plenty of protesters focused on President Trump's immigration crackdown. Senate candidates in several key races joined the crowds. It's funny because when I grew up, politicians talk about what they stood for. Sometimes even said things like, hey, I agree with him. I agree that that's something that we need to address. Like when you look at immigration, I can pull up if you want, or you can look it up yourself. Obama saying, we have to crack down on illegals. We have to, shore up our border. We have to hire more border patrol agents. We need to kick these people out that don't belong here. We need to teach them to speak English, the ones that are going to stay. We need to put them on the back of the line and come in a lawful and proper way. But Obama, all day long, he kicked more people out of this country way, 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 way more than Trump. He's not even approaching those numbers. So Obama said that that's what he was going to do. I agreed with Obama. I supported Obama, both elections. And I supported that, I supported that issue that he stood very strongly on. Bush, Clinton, Hillary, get them out, they gotta speak English, and if they committed a crime, they don't get to stay, and blah, 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 all of it, because it was popular to say. It was popular to say. Let me read this to you again. Senate candidates in several key races joined the crowds. So this is what the Democrats have to offer. We're not going to hear what they want. We're not going to hear what they're going to bring to the table. We're not going to hear the issues. We're going to hear as much negativity against Trump as possible, because that gets attention. That gets them a microphone in front of their mouth. They're going to talk about, for these midterms, try to turn the number down, turn the tide. They want control. And this will stop the president from being able to advance some of the many good ideas that he has. So they're going to focus on, let's say, Iran, and the country is torn about Iran. Well, the publicity that is being sent out there is that Trump has gone into Iran because of the Epstein files. I love it. So this is the spin that they put on it, and that, why are we in Iran and what's going on? Let me explain something to you. There's a game of global chess going on right now about power. Do you think that Trump really cares about Greenland? Or does he care about that very narrow passageway, waterway, that is at the northern tip of Greenland, and that he wants control of that because the Chinese and the Russians will be able to take warships and come that side? That's part of it. That's part of it. Also, they'll be able to move goods and be able to move things that we won't have any control over, like we do with the Panama Canal, which we built, and other places. So there's a lot of going on. The Strait of Hormuz, that's something we would like to have control of, so we can see what's going in and out. We know exactly what's happening. Cuba is 90 miles off the coast of Florida, and we really want to make sure that that doesn't turn into some kind of playground for our enemies. So there's a lot of that going on. But more importantly, we went through an administration that said, it said that there were weapons of mass destruction, and that was the reason why we were going to invade certain countries, particularly Iraq. And it turned out there was no weapons of mass destruction, that it was really probably more of a financial play. And some have thought, although I haven't heard about it yet in the press, that this whole situation in Iran may also be that. I will promise you that all of the Jimmy Kimmels and all of the Fallons and all of the talk show big guys will be the first one, if they find enriched uranium and they can prove, or they detonate some kind of suitcase bomb, or we fall under any kind of attack, or one of our allies. If you don't think Iran would lob a nuclear weapon into the heart of Tel Aviv, if they had it, they would. If we have intercepted many times them trying to get enriched uranium. Hillary Clinton okayed a deal for them to have uranium from the United States. So we pretty much put this uranium that they're trying to enrich to the level that they can make a nuclear weapon out of from our own administration under Clinton, Hillary Clinton. The amount of stuff we would have to listen to, the amount of crap that we would have to live with, that this president would have to put up with, if they get their hands on, or something gets detonated, or whatever, it'll all be, this is what happens when you put this, a president in office that doesn't have the political experience, that doesn't have this guy was president already. He knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. And there's not a chance Iran would not use a nuclear weapon against its enemies. There isn't a chance they would do it. This is a holy war for them. This is very different. There's a lot at stake here of making sure they don't get one of these weapons, a lot. And they will not. So we had a treaty, we had stuff under Obama, we had stuff under Biden that was signed. They were breaking that treaty. Do you think they care? When their holy goal when they screamed death to America for 50 years almost. You think they care if they signed something that said they wouldn't do it? Do you really believe that? Intelligence, satellite photography, information that we get, information that we pay for, has more than suggested. It has told us that they are breaking those treaties, that they are definitively trying to come up with a nuclear weapon. We cannot allow that. We cannot allow that. You talk about the worry of World War III, and there's some smaller countries throughout Europe that they would nuke in a second and take the whole thing. Listen, this isn't a game that can be played. This is not hey, listen, if you run this play and we try to defend them over here and they're pretty good at throwing the ball, it's not some Sunday afternoon football game. These are people that would let their own life. It's an honor for them to die. It's considered one of the highest honors for them to sacrifice their own life. They'll walk into a building with a bomb and blow the building in the city up. They would. They would. They fly planes into buildings. They do all kinds of crazy stuff. So no, absolutely not. We can't allow that to happen. But again, we're going to have these big rallies and say that this is Trump's doing and he wants to be a king. And he is, no kings. And so we've got this fancy, catchy thing that's out there now. We've got this, people are rallied and fired up. And really what it's all about is money. It's about those people wanting to have the power back so they can instill their program, so they can stop this president from getting the things done, the mission that he was signed up for. You don't hear as many people on the right screaming and protesting and rallying and doing the different things that the Democrats do. The left is really, really good at this. They get all fired up. They program their people. People I know, people who write me stuff. Hey, Daniel, you never served in the military, so you really don't know what you're talking about. You've just played those roles in a movie. Okay. So I had to listen to this guy tell me all this stuff. And he was a nice guy. He was, let's talk about it if you want to or whatever. Well, first of all, you forget that in the movies that we play, we have techs and we have people, advisors that are on there that tell you exactly what happened in Vietnam. They were there. This is how we did it. I played a Baltimore homicide detective with Baltimore homicide cops and regular cops going through not just how it's done, but how it's done in Baltimore. Exactly how it's done. Like they wouldn't allow you to do something and their say was final. The writers had to go back and forth. Same thing. So, and again, I'm not trying for a second to compare my experiences in the field of battle with someone who has actually been there. I'm not trying to do that, ladies and gentlemen. I have the utmost respect for those people, men and women, that have served our country. And I have been there for them the best I possibly can as a civilian in events, in raising money, and raising awareness with my time and my own money itself. So I don't mean to say what this man said to me wasn't true, but the idea that I don't understand what's going on. Now, I've spent more time trying to understand it than many people that live in that world. So no, that's not a true statement that I don't understand. I do understand. And I'm going to tell you that rallying people's enthusiasm, rallying people's negativity is an art. I will never, ever forget watching Barack Obama say, hey, listen, all you got to do is throw enough mud, say enough stuff, get enough people, going a little bit, and then just keep throwing negativity at it and keep throwing, and suddenly a tiny little snowball like this, will start to roll down the hill. And these are not his exact words, but the point of it is, you can start some based on absolutely no facts at all, just for the reason of trying to find opposition to it. And if you get enough people fired up, that snowball can roll downhill really fast. Look at how many people showed up for this No Kings thing. What is No Kings? What is that? So just by the words alone, you're trying to say that Trump is acting as if he's a monarch and he's going to just wield his fist. He's Julius Caesar, he's Queen Elizabeth, he's, blah, 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 blah. Oh, that's such because the things that you keep saying that he's trying to act as a king, like he did not have congressional approval, to bomb and start a war with. neither did Biden or Obama. Obama bombed like 30 different cities in 10 different countries or 15 countries. I mean, it was ridiculous. He was lighting up bombs like it was 4th of July and we were lighting a pack of firecrackers off. And this guy didn't have any congressional approval. He didn't like somebody, he lit him up. He wanted something to change. He wanted a policy to change. He bombed them. Syria, Syria got bombed by him a few times. I didn't see any members of Congress voting on Syria. So it just depends on what kind of spin the opposition wants to put on it. The spin they want to. Listen to this. Thousands of demonstrations against the Trump administration unfolded across the country on Saturday, the third round in a nationwide series of loosely coordinated No Kings rallies. The day of protest, the first since October, came as the midterm election season takes shape, and as Democrats work to capitalize politically on the unpopular war in Iran. Exactly a month earlier, President Trump ordered the first U.S. strikes against Iran, setting off a conflict that has sent gasoline prices soaring and rattled Republicans. Well, I'm a Republican and I'm not rattled. I believe that he tried very, very hard to get them to come to the table. I believe that he put his key people out, from Marco Rubio to intelligence agencies and everyone, to say, hey, don't let this happen. We don't want this to happen, but you are not going to enrich uranium in order to develop a nuclear weapon. We're not going to allow you to do that. So when Jack Kennedy surrounded the island of Cuba in what is remembered as the Cuban Missile Crisis, and he said, you're not bringing anything in here and having missiles 90 miles off the coast of Florida. You're not going to do that. We're not going to allow it. And it was a tense time. We wondered, was Nikita Khrushchev going to go ahead and launch a nuclear attack against the U.S.? This was, at the height of the early years of the Cold War. And the answer is Khrushchev didn't want to fight Kennedy. He didn't want to fight the U.S. So he withdrew. This is a similar situation. Iran has the power now to withdraw and understand that we will never let them have a nuclear weapon. That's just it. Who's the U.S. to not allow? Because we know that it would be us and our allies that Iran would launch those weapons against. They're not somebody like China or like India or like some other countries that have nuclear power that may not be our best friends, but we know we don't feel as threatened. China's not going to launch a nuclear weapon against us. The reason why is because we blow China out of the sky. They would blow us up, or Russia, the three Axis powers, the three big global powers. No one's going to win that confrontation. No one. The minute a bomb landed, they would retroactively go off and target every area, and everyone would die, and there'd be a nuclear cloud over the world. So who wants that? Do you think Iran cares about that? Honestly, I don't think they don't care about their own people. The government kills their own people by the hundreds of thousands. Public executions, boom, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom. They're shooting them dead. You oppose that country, they kill you, they imprison you, they make an example of you, they kill your family. This is a religious thing. I don't think they would care. I think that they would let go some missiles and then take the beating. And guess what? If they blew off a nuclear device somewhere, I think you would expect that nuclear devices would be used against them and it would be over very, very quickly. But who wins that? Who wins if they hit Chicago, New York, and LA? Does the country survive? Probably. It's going to be awful and ugly for decades cleaning it up, and there'd be, a blip left of Iran. So, and the fallout to the neighboring countries by Iran. Play this out. This is something that we must do. This is something that must be stopped now before it gets out of hand. Before someone lobs a nuclear weapon into Tel Aviv, and they would do it. They absolutely would do it. You have to understand, they would do it. How are the Democrats not seeing that? If this was a Democratic president, would he allow them to have a nuclear weapon? God, I can't imagine if we had military proof that they were upgrading their uranium and enriching it. But there's been stories about the billions of dollars that the Obama administration sent there, the the uranium that was sold to Iran by Hillary Clinton, and now Biden opening up certain markets and certain frozen assets for Iran to get to the place where they have a nuclear weapon. So I don't know what to say about all those accusations. I have confirmation from friends of mine that all three are true. So I'm not sure what they're thinking. What they got in return. Was it personal gain? Was it some other political favor that we needed, that they felt that was a stable choice to make? I don't want them to have that kind of a choice. I don't. So I support the president. No Kings, I think, is catchy. It's got a lot of people fired up. I love when you watch the interviews, particularly the young people, 20, 22. So, hey, tell me what Young Kings is about. Trump thinks he's king. Yeah, he does. He's like a king. Okay, well, in what way do you think that the president thinks he's a king or wants to be? Well, look what he did. He bombed everybody, and some of the most uninformed, AI-driven, ask a question, try to regurgitate something with no understanding of what's going on. It makes me sad. It really does, because, again, they're being herded. Like Obama said, just throw enough at it. Throw enough stuff, and the young kids are like big mouth bass watching a fly go by. Rah, they come out of the reeds, and they're going to bite that hook because they're going on Sunday to the No Kings rally, dude. Going to No Kings. Yeah. Hey! No Kings, Trump. Jesus. The future of our country. So I saw this. Can you pull up this picture? Liberals hate all kinds of kings. Work king, think king, fact check king, and making sense. I love this. No more kings. Wow. I guess in some ways, when you think about it, though, really, the president of the United States is, arguably, like I said before, China, Russia, U.S., whatever order you want to put them in. Certainly militarily, I would hate to try to match up with the U.S., but they are the rulers of the big three. They are. So they are kind of not a king, but, they're pretty powerful men. They really are, all three of them. And I think that when you look at keeping that illusion that we're this close, if we don't straighten out the Hormuz situation, if we don't straighten out the Greenland situation, the Iranian war, if we don't, we're this close to like a global confrontation, a world war. Do you think that these three men are going to allow that to happen? Short of someone, a nuclear device accidentally or even intentionally landing on someone's home ground, do you really think you can foresee U.S. and Chinese troops on either one's property fighting each other, or missiles coming over and just blowing everybody up? First strike, second strike, whatever. No, I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're more likely, if ever, to be in conflict with each other, on someone else's land. Is it possible that, something could happen in the Ukraine, that Russia, is Russia going to nuke the Ukraine? No. Is China going to nuke Taiwan? No, I don't think so. Short of some crazy thing like that, where we might send warships in or whatever, but that would be on somebody else's property. It wouldn't be on ours. And of course, that would be devastating for global stability. I don't foresee that happening, but we keep this illusion going on, just like the No Kings things. The Democrats have put this whole thing together now where Trump is trying to be the king of something. I don't, it's interesting. I go back, again, I'm going to say it again and again. I go back to what Obama said, because it was one of the most honest things that guy's ever said. You know, if you throw just enough dirt at it, enough shit at it, that it just stinks really bad. And, you know, I had a friend, really wasn't a friend of mine, but a friend of someone who I knew well. And they said that a very famous religious figure was caught behind the scenes and no one knew about it in sexual misdoings with young men. And I knew, you know, of the person, and I remember hearing my friend tell me this, and I thought, oh my God, really him? Like, I didn't hear anything about that. Yeah, no, they kept it quiet, and they were able to, you know, I guess, however they did it, it never kind of broke. I said, wow, how does this person that you know that? Well, you know, I'm not sure, but you know, she definitely, you know, told me, and it, you know, really changed my opinion. I said, of course, that would change my opinion. I already looking at him differently now. It doesn't take much if it's a really sinister thing, you know, sex with children, you know, the kinds of scandals where they were in sexual relationships, particularly when you mix the sexual thing with religious leaders with a big following, or someone who, you know, is representing Christ or Buddha or whoever it may be, Allah, you know, and you hear these stories. And then sometime later, after my looking at this person, you know, just, I'd gone and seen this person speak, preach, and I never went to see him again. I took that information in, and it cast that little bit of doubt in my mind that, wow, this guy, he did these terrible things with these young boys, like it just changed all of it, the whole vibe. Brilliant speaker. Later on, the friend of mine told me, you know what, I spoke with the woman that told me all this stuff, and she said, what are you talking about? I never said that. Huh? Now, my friend, I know for sure, heard it verbatim and reported it to me exactly how it was said. But I looked at the damage that could have been done had that ever broke, if this person that leaked it had been more powerful and said it in a more public way, and how dangerous your words are, you know, how terrifying that can be. And again, I go back to that thing. Obama's right. If you throw, even I, if I was to make some statement about Epstein's Island and someone I saw there, like I went there innocently, I only went one time, I was invited to a big party through so-and-so. I've never said if somebody went to Epstein's Island once, you know, again, I'm sending a private jet, it's a big party, there's real estate people there, there's this, that, there's, you know, other Hollywood actors that have been here before. I mean, you know, in the beginning of my career, these types of parties and these types of things went on in New York City all the time. You know, so they took the whole China Club. It's going to be, you know, Bruce Willis, Sean Penn, blah, blah, you know, and I go, man, I want to go see those guys for sure. I was, you know, coming up in the movies myself, on some TV shows now, and I wanted to rub elbows with the big Hollywood stars. I don't know what happened after the club. I don't know what happened with these people. I don't know what they did. And I'm not saying any of the people I've mentioned or that I know were involved in it. I'm just saying, I didn't know, you know, I don't know what people do when the lights go out. So why would you know if you're some young actor or politician or whatever, and you're involved in a deal, and this big, you know, guy from New York is going to put together this function on this private island and everything? You might go to that. You might go to that to collect money, to look for investors, to look for votes, whatever it is, you know. But when you go back there and then you go back there and then you go back there and you're going 7, 8, 9, 10 times, something's probably up if there's bad stuff going on that island. Again, I'm not saying I know that about any particular name right now, but I know that about a bunch of names. So the truth's going to all come out. And so will probably the videos. There are going to be some sacrificial lambs that it's going to be really ugly for them and their families and everything. Will they all go? Probably not. There's a justice system for the hierarchy that's way different than ours. So are we going to see Bill Clinton or any of the other people that are rumored to have done some pretty bad things? Hillary, Hillary gets on and says, I don't know this guy. I never met him. And then there's 10 different pictures at 10 different occasions of Hillary with Epstein and her husband, who was on the island supposedly at least 28 times on his plane. But she didn't know anything about it. She didn't know where her husband was. She didn't know what he was doing. She didn't know that he knew this guy that well. I knew Giselle, I met her once or twice. Okay. So don't look for justice to be equal, but they're going to have to give some people up. They're going to. They're absolutely going to. And if you throw enough mud at it, if you throw enough dirt at it, if you throw enough stinky at it, eventually enough of it's going to stick that people are going to cast a doubt. They're going to cast a doubt about what they think and what they say and what other people think about that person. Even if none of it's true, the mission might be because you're a psychopath and you can't help yourself but to make up stuff so you sound more important. Or you might have an agenda. You might have an agenda of what you want to happen to that person. And you're going to say stuff rather than point out what you have to offer that's better or different or progressive or that's a solution and a different way to get to that place. See, it's really easy to say to everybody, let's lower tax. I'm going to lower taxes. You'll see. Okay. Well, this was my problem with Kamala. Ms. Harris, how are you going to do that? How are you going to make the billionaires pay more? And what types of things are you? Well, I'm going to make them pay their fair share. Well, that's an interesting idea. How are you going to do that? And where would the breaks and the taxes be lowered, and for what group and for whom? And how much do you think that will be? And how will you make up getting that money? What will you be doing with the billionaires? These people there, this group, this phantom group that's going to make up the lion's share of the money. So there was the problem. When asked those difficult questions, this woman did not have fiscally strong answers. And you could see her stammer through. You have to have a plan. No matter what you want to say about Trump, he said, I'm going to raise tariffs on everybody else and go back to the old way. And I'm going to make everybody else pay. And as they start paying to do business in this country, as they start paying NATO for the hundreds of billions, even trillions of dollars that we spend protecting other countries that are supposed to be our friends, free of charge. Not anymore. They're going to pay us back. They're going to pay a fee, just like you would pay police officers or you pay other law enforcement agents. They get paid through the federal government or your state tax or whatever it is. So they're going to pay. And I thought, well, that's a great idea. Let somebody else pay for it. Let's tell China that they really need to sell their stuff to America, their goods, their Temu, and their different things. And we're gonna raise the tax on that a little bit. Not to be crazy, but we're gonna raise the tax on that a little bit. The tariff on that's gonna be a little higher for you to do business in the U.S. because you have a strong liking for the American dollar. It is stimulating your economy, and you're blowing up over there. You're blowing up over there on our dime. So we're gonna charge you for that. That's a great idea. I mean, you're telling us how, well, you're going to drive the prices up. If you don't want to buy things from China, if you don't want to drive any tariff, they're going to turn around and they're going to say, well, if you're going to make it harder for us and more expensive for us to sell there, we're going to raise the price and pass that on to you. I've heard this argument. Then don't buy Chinese products. Don't buy them. Buy made in America. Don't buy a Japanese car or a Chinese car or a German car. Buy an American car. If this is, you're so worried about it, there's lots of stuff that you can buy in the US. Lots of stuff, electronics companies that are here in America. Electronics company that might be, some of it is partially Chinese or Japanese, but they're assembled here, or they're made here, or whatever. If you're so worried about that, then take a look at what you're really buying. Take a look at what it is, and let's make them pay. I love that idea. I love putting $10,000 more in the hands of American families a year. That's vacations and things they can spend. It was my wife that said to me, in certain communities in the Jewish community, that money you spend in the Jewish community stays in the Jewish community like 6-7 rounds of spending. They go to a Jewish market, they go to a Jewish law firm, they go to a this, that kind of thing. So that money they earned, they keep it in their community several rounds. Other communities in the US, the money leaves immediately. First, as soon as they get the check, they spend it outside their community. Start spending the money in your community more. Support your community. Keep the money with people that are American allies to you. Do that. It's a simple solution. We should do that. I would like that. No kings. God. I can't believe the number of people that are rallying under this call signal. I mean, some of this, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I have friends that have been going to these things. Do yourself a favor. Well, actually, I don't want to say that. I was going to say what a bunch of this No Kings thing is. But it's got a ring to it, and people are liking it, and they're running around grabbing on a Sunday afternoon, trying to implicate each other and blah, 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 blah. I just think it's such a crock of shit, really. But how about the Democrats with the midterms coming and them focusing on this coming up this year? How about you focus on putting up a real candidate that's going to run against J.D. Vance or Rubio or both? How about finding somebody in the party now that has some legs, that has some guts, that people want to listen to, that people would rally behind? How about digging up somebody that's worthy and not a retread, I laughed the other day. I saw something about how Kamala Harris is still the leader, 39% or some nonsense, to get the Democratic vote. And I thought, are you really going to run this woman again? Like it's Hillary and, yeah, run either one of them. Run them together. Hillary and Kamala, AOC and Kamala, whatever. Like, talk about getting your ass kicked again. I just focus on that stuff. Focus on bringing a new voice to run the party. The party is just falling apart. It is. It's falling apart. Chuck Schumer is done. Schiff is done. Done. Elizabeth Warren, bye. Newsom, he's not going to win. Find somebody, man. Make it interesting. Bring somebody to breathe some fresh air into the Democratic Party. I really do. I worry that this party will end. That they're just going to be, if they sustain another, total hit to the bow of the boat, torpedo, boom. If the things that you think are happening, we're declaring war against Iran because we want to take attention away from the Epstein files because there's something about Trump in there. I mean, Jesus, some of the stupidest that people can, that put it out there. And listen, there's enough bass biting the bait. Yeah, really? So hang on. Would you argue that Biden hated Trump? That they just, they couldn't stand each other, right? And that Biden's president, some people go as far as saying he's dead and it was a body double or whatever. But certainly he was incapacitated while he was president. We got real confirmation of it during the debate when he looked like, that was sad what we saw from him. And how long was that going on? And let's go back and look at how many documents were signed with an auto pen. You really believe that they had possession of all of those files and they didn't use any of it if it was against Trump to torpedo him during the 2024 election? Do you really believe that? Because if you believe that, there's no sense of you ever watching my show. Really, seriously. I love everybody that watches. I appreciate the opposition. I appreciate those people that are staunch followers of my political beliefs. I believe the people and I like the people that lay in between. I don't mind having a debate with you. I don't mind being challenged by you. I don't mind listening to your evidence and trying to disprove it, or we can talk morals, or we can talk all kinds of different things. I don't mind that. I don't expect everybody, people in my own family don't even talk to me anymore because of what I believe politically. That's okay. That's okay. If they wanted to, I'd be happy to debate with them. But let me tell you something. The truth is coming. If you think this first year, we're going into our second year now that we passed January 20th, in 2026 now, it's just beginning. This is just beginning, this revelation of what we needed to do to save this country. There's going to be some people that come out of this, it's going to be bad. That if you think for 1 minute they had files that people didn't look through and scan and look at and had an opportunity to shoot Trump down to ensure that he wouldn't have won in 2024 and that she would have been the president right now, yeah, they would have done that. They would have absolutely, they couldn't open them and they were secretly sealed and the law says that, come on, man, really? Please. These are people that steal billions of dollars and do all kinds of terrible things and make up vaccinations and make it mandatory for you to get a shot that hasn't been tested properly, that's going to inject you with things that will probably cost you your life 20 years down the road and affect the way you think and act and, just blah, blah, blah. These are sinister, disgusting human beings. Terrible people, capable of doing awful things. You don't think they would have taken those files and sifted through them, trying to find that one jewel, that one recording, that one thing that would put Trump and say, he's done, she wins. The one shot of him with some young girl, a video, or whatever it is that you think that's going on out there. The one confirmation that someone said, so I was with Trump. And he said, well, they may try to make up a document like that. That didn't happen, and they didn't have it. So the nonsense that Trump was going as far as starting a war with Iran in order to take and divert your attention. Why would that divert your attention? If you had something that was gold in those files, you'd still come out with it while the war was going on. You'd have leaked the information to the press, and you would have shot this guy down, and you didn't do it. So stop treating me like I'm a idiot and that I don't know what time it is. Because I do. And you don't have anything. You don't. Unless you're making it up with some AI-generated tool now, and then you're going to say, oh, look what we found. They released millions of documents, and we just found this. They've gone through all the documents. They've gone through everything already. They went through them when Biden was president. There was nothing to reveal. Nothing. No kings. God. What has happened to our country, man? We have some of the stupidest, talk about dumbing down a country. We have some of the stupidest people. That's why I'm not that worried about what's going on, because I guess it's possible to have enough people to oppose the things that made us great as a nation that we're trying to reinstill. I guess there's enough people out there that can be taken out to the woodshed and made and convinced of all this. What is the average IQ of the American citizen right now? Keep staring at your phones. Keep staring at your phones. Keep not researching what's going on. Keep not fact-checking and doing your homework, because, wow, just throw enough at it. Throw enough at it. Throw enough dirt. See how much sticks. Watch the snowball roll downhill. And as the sheep continue to be herded into the pen, from pen to pen, fed just enough to fatten up for slaughter. That's what this is. The fattening. You're being fattened up for slaughter, and you don't even know it. God Almighty. Makes me sad. Makes me sad what I'm going to leave behind for my son, for my daughters. It does. Makes me want to go to a place that's safer. Another country maybe where it won't be like this. Or at least a state. I'm definitely going to go where it's safe for me, where there's like-minded people more. I'm not going, New York isn't home anymore. I can't go back to New York. I couldn't live that way with the mayor of New York City. What were you thinking to elect this guy? What were you possibly thinking, New Yorkers? I watched up in Syracuse the No Kings rally up in Syracuse. I lived up there for a while when my mom was alive. And I have a lot of relatives that are up there. God. You know what? I'm just going to pray now. I am. I'm going to pray. Lord, I thank you for all the blessings and the protective hand that you put over our country and our people, Lord, and my wife and my children, our health. Lord, let clearer heads prevail in the Middle East and Iran. Let this new leadership understand that this is going to be the sword that's wielded over them until they give up and agree on these nuclear devices and this uranium enrichment. So God, I ask you to intervene and let cooler heads prevail, Lord. So for the soldiers that are defending our great way, that are in this war right now, let's bring them home safely, Lord. As few casualties, if any, as possible. Let this war end in a peaceful way that we can come to an agreement with these people. And for the unrest that goes on in our country, God, please, we praise you, we love you, and we ask you. I ask you in my prayer today, settle these differences, God. Let them see what we're doing is necessary to defend ourselves in our way. Bring God back into the lives of our children and in a positive way. In your name we pray. Amen. You know, I don't really think much before. I always start my prayer with asking for guidance and protection because, you know, act as if God is standing right next to you, because he is. So I always thank him for those two things because they're so important in my life with my amazing wife and my children. And, you know, I feel so blessed to have the life that I have in this country, but it's changing the opposition with each other. It's so sad to watch that we don't understand what's actually going on here and the level of importance as this chess game goes on globally right now, that we need to make sure for the next 50 years we're safe, you know, and I believe that's what this administration is doing. So if you can, everyone, I ask you, I'm reminded all the time, tell people to follow you, tell people to subscribe to you, tell people to share the show with other people and make them aware of the fact that we're out there. And I don't remember to always do that in the beginning of the podcast, and I remember, you know, at the very end sometimes. So if you can subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. It helps us get the numbers up and will help us grow as a show. If you can share the show, you know, tell people that, you know, hey, have you watched Daniel Baldwin Show? It's pretty cool. Like-minded people like us that, you know, believe that what we're doing is good and believe that we're ensuring our way of life for our children and our grandchildren. That's what's going on here. So if you can do that, if you can like the show, send in your questions. I love your questions. Today's question was, was pretty cool from Jeff Cashman in Bismarck, North Dakota, about what did I mean? He's paying attention. What did you mean there's multiple Epstein Islands? And there was multiple Epstein Islands that Epstein had. And there's a lot of other islands like this and situations like this around the world. And people know where they are. People know. There's governments in Colombia, in Central America. There's clubs in Greece and Europe where this is going on. And they don't do anything about it. It's sad. Anyway, God bless you. I look forward to the next show. Send in some show ideas if you like. And believe it or not, it's going to be in the next, couple of months that we're going to change our background and we're going to have some guests come on monitors. We might even have some of them come on to the show. So looks like the show is moving up. We're going to keep it 2 days a week. We're going to keep our editing with the infamous Hassan Dar in India is going to continue to do his magic, and we're going to make it even harder on him by shooting with multiple cameras and having guests. So looking forward to breaking out on the show. We might even, here's a little teaser, we might even have a new show name. A new show name. My name is boring. We need to have a new show name. And we will never stop praying on our show, because Jesus Christ and my personal relationship with him is the only thing in the world that comes before my wife. And not a lot comes before my wife, nothing. And when she snaps her fingers, I jump. That's what makes us such a good couple. I learned that lesson the hard way. Anyway, love you guys. Thank you so much. God bless you.